A woman will never tell you she misses you the moment she actually does. She won't send a message that says it directly. She won't call you just to say your name. She won't admit, even to herself sometimes, that you've taken up space in her mind that she didn't plan to give you. But here's what psychology has quietly discovered about human emotional behavior. When someone occupies your thoughts, your actions begin to reflect it, even when you're trying to hide it, especially when you're trying to hide it. And women? Women are masters of concealing their feelings through words. But behavior? Behavior is something entirely different. Because the truth is, if she's doing certain things when you're not around, things she probably doesn't even realize she's doing, psychology says your absence is anything but invisible to her. Stay with me, because what comes later in this video is something most people never connect. And once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. There's a concept in behavioral psychology called emotional leakage. It refers to the way genuine feelings escape through small, unconscious behaviors, even when a person is actively trying to contain them. Most people think attraction and missing someone shows up in grand gestures, in long texts, in dramatic confessions. But that's not how human emotional psychology actually works. The real signals are quieter. They're almost invisible if you don't know what you're looking for. And interestingly, the stronger the feeling, the more subtle the behavior tends to be. Because the stronger the feeling, the more a person instinctively tries to protect themselves from it. What makes this particularly fascinating is what happens in the moments you're not there. Because it's easy to maintain a face when someone is watching. But when you're alone, when there's no audience, no reason to perform, that's when the truth surfaces. Psychology reveals that the behaviors a person exhibits in private are far more emotionally honest than anything they say in public. So if she's doing the signs we're about to break down, she's not just thinking about you. She's feeling something she hasn't yet found the words for. Let's go through them, one by one. She goes back and reads your old messages. Not because she's looking for something specific, not because she needs information, but because reading your words in your voice, in your tone, brings her something that feels like closeness when you're not physically there. This is one of the most psychologically telling behaviors, and it's one of the most private. Nobody scrolls back through months of conversation for logistical reasons. They do it because those words carry emotional weight, because rereading them is the closest thing to being near that person when the person isn't available. Psychologists studying attachment behavior have noted that people who are emotionally bonded to someone will revisit shared communication as a form of what's called proximity seeking, an instinctive drive to feel connected to someone even across distance or absence. She might read something you said weeks ago and smile to herself. She might replay a voice note. She might look at a photo you sent, not once, but several times in the same week. And the strange part? She probably doesn't think of it as missing you. She just does it, almost automatically. But the body and behavior don't lie. What she's searching for in those old messages is the feeling of you, and that tells you everything. She's walking past a coffee shop. She hears a song. She sees something that has absolutely nothing to do with anything important, and her mind goes immediately to you. This is called associative memory activation, and it's one of the most revealing signs that someone has deeply embedded themselves in another person's emotional architecture. When you miss someone, truly miss them, your brain begins unconsciously cataloging associations, a specific color, a particular joke style, a phrase someone else says that sounds like something you'd say. The mind links these triggers to the person, and the moment it encounters them, it recalls them automatically. What makes this powerful is that she has no control over it. She's not choosing to think about you when that song plays. Her brain is simply doing what emotionally activated brains do. It's returning to what it's been circling. If she mentions to you later, "I heard this song and thought of you," or "I saw this and it reminded me of you," understand that this isn't small talk. That's an emotional admission wrapped inside a casual sentence. That's her telling you, in the safest way she knows, that you live in her thoughts in the quiet moments. But here's where it gets interesting. Even when she doesn't tell you, when she keeps those associations to herself, the behavior is still happening. You're still the thought that arrives uninvited. You're still the name that surfaces when it has no logical reason to. She just hasn't decided yet whether to let you know. She checks your story. She notices when you post. She's aware, more aware than she'd ever admit, of what you've been doing, where you've been, who you've been around. This behavior pattern is psychologically significant because it represents a specific emotional tension. She wants information about you, but she doesn't want you to know she wants it. The act of watching without engaging is a form of emotional self-protection. She's maintaining a connection, however invisible, while preserving enough distance to feel safe. Psychologists describe this as passive proximity maintenance. It's the behavior of someone who is emotionally invested but not yet ready or not yet sure to close the gap. What it communicates beneath the surface is this: your life matters to her. What you do affects her emotionally. But vulnerability feels risky, so she watches. She pays attention. She keeps herself updated, quietly, privately, without leaving a trace. And if she ever slips, if she reacts to something before she's thought it through, if she mentions something you posted that she had no obvious reason to know, catch that moment. Because in that second, the curtain pulled back just slightly. That's not carelessness. That's feeling too much to maintain the mask completely. Her friend is telling a story, her colleague makes a joke, and somehow, almost without meaning to, she says your name. She references something you said. She brings you into a room you're not physically in. This is one of the most emotionally honest signs, and it happens almost entirely outside her conscious awareness. When someone occupies significant emotional space in our mind, they naturally begin appearing in how we process the world around us. We start filtering experiences through them. He would laugh at this. That reminds me of something he said. I should tell him about this. The fact that your name rises to the surface in conversations that have nothing to do with you, that's not coincidence. That's emotional priority. The deeper reason is rooted in how memory and emotion interact. Experiences that feel emotionally resonant become connected to people we associate with strong feeling. She's not just thinking about you in isolation. You've become part of how she experiences things. Her friends might notice before she does. Sometimes the people around someone are the first to see what that person is still working up the courage to admit. But whether she says your name out loud or only thinks it to herself, the mechanism is the same. You're present in her world, even when you're absent from it. She's been going about her day, calm, composed, unbothered. And then your name appears on her screen. Something changes. It might be almost imperceptible, a slight lift in mood, a pause before she responds because she wants to seem less eager than she feels, a smile she suppresses or doesn't quite manage to. This shift in emotional energy is one of the most psychologically transparent signs that someone has been waiting, even if they wouldn't describe it that way, for contact from you. Behavioral research into human emotional response consistently shows that people who are emotionally attached to someone display measurable changes in mood and alertness when that person initiates contact. Heart rate subtly increases, focus sharpens, there's a mild release of dopamine, the same neurochemical involved in anticipation and reward. In plain terms, her brain responds to you because it's been oriented toward you. She might play it cool in how she responds. She might take longer to reply than she wants to, just to manage how much of herself she reveals. But notice the shift if you're paying attention. Notice whether her energy in conversation feels different, warmer, more alive. Because that shift isn't something she decided to perform. That's her emotional reality expressing itself before she's had time to curate it. She sends you a meme. She tags you in something random. She texts you, "This made me think of you," about something utterly minor. On the surface, these feel like nothing, small, throwaway interactions. But underneath, each one of these is a quiet reaching out, a low-risk way of creating contact without having to say what she actually feels. This behavior pattern is what psychologists call low-investment connection attempts, and they're anything but low investment emotionally. The reason she reaches out with something minor is precisely because the feeling behind it is major. If she just missed you casually, she wouldn't bother. People don't manufacture reasons to reach out to someone who isn't significant to them. The minor reach out is a test in a way, but not the kind people usually think about. It's not a power play. It's an emotional experiment. She's checking. Is the door open? Does he respond warmly? Is there something here worth moving toward? Every small thing she sends is carrying more weight than it shows. And the most powerful moment in this pattern is when she reaches out with no reason at all. No meme, no tag, just, hey. Just your name followed by something small and ordinary. Because hey, with nothing behind it, means she simply wanted to hear from you. And she ran out of excuses not to reach out. This is the sign almost nobody talks about. And psychologically, it may be the deepest one. She doesn't speak badly about you when you're not around. If someone criticizes you, even mildly, she finds herself quietly defensive. She holds the good memories with a kind of private tenderness that she doesn't examine too closely, because examining it would require admitting more than she's ready to. This protective behavior towards someone's memory and reputation is what psychologists associate with genuine emotional bonding. We protect what we value. We defend what matters to us, even when there's no audience requiring it. If she's guarding how you're spoken about, if she's keeping the good things you shared somewhere safe inside her, if she finds herself oddly protective of you in conversations where your name comes up, that isn't just habit. That isn't just politeness. That is someone who cares. Quietly, privately, deeply, in the way that people care when they haven't yet said it out loud. Missing someone is rarely dramatic. It doesn't always arrive in tears or confessions or midnight messages. More often, it arrives in the quiet in-between moments, in old conversations revisited, in songs that pull someone's name to the surface, in small messages sent without a clear reason. Psychology doesn't lie. And behavior, the things we do when we think no one is watching, when we have no reason to perform, behavior is the most honest language we have. If she's doing these things when you're not around, she's not indifferent. She's not unaffected. She's simply someone who feels more than she said. And sometimes, the most profound connections are the ones that live in silence, in the small behaviors, in the quiet gestures, in the things a person does not because they decided to, but because they simply couldn't help it. Because in the end, attraction is rarely spoken through words. It's revealed through behavior. If this made you see something differently, drop it in the comments. And if you want to understand more about the unspoken psychology of human connection, the next video is already waiting.